Welcome back to JV Foodie Cooks. Today is National Rice Ball Day. I'm about to make some Italian nonna roll over in her grave because I am making arancini in an air fryer. So let's get this show on the road. We are starting this adventure off by shredding some mozzarella. You don't want the pre-shredded mozzarella because that is coated in some sort of anti-caking agent, whether that's cellulose or a type of starch. So you want to avoid that. So get yourself a block of mozzarella, some fresh mozzarella, something of that nature, and shred that up. This recipe and everything I'm going to give you is cut in half, but I will leave the original recipe down below and you can make the full set or half like I did if you don't feel like you can eat all of those. Okay, all right, let's move on. So back to the mozzarella cheese. We only need 1/4 cup for us, so that's about 28 grams worth of our freshly shredded mozzarella cheese, and we're going to toss that into a bowl. Into that same bowl, we are going to toss in 1/4 cup or about 65 grams worth of ricotta cheese. And the last thing to add to this bowl is 1/2 tablespoon of Italian seasoning. Give this all a good mix, make sure everyone knows each other really well, and now we have our arancini filling that we can set off to the side. So now we need to get our breading situation taken care of, starting with panko breadcrumbs. I am using 1/2 cup or about 51 grams worth of panko breadcrumbs, and I am adding that to a shallow bowl. And then I'm going to add 1/2 tablespoon of Italian seasoning to my panko breadcrumbs. Going into a second shallow bowl is going to be 1/8 cup or about 14 grams worth of all-purpose flour. And our third and final shallow bowl is going to be a lightly beaten egg. Now that we've got our filling made and we've got our breading situation set up and taken care of, it's time to start making some rice balls. So I'm going to grab my risotto out of the fridge. And if you're like, wait, what, risotto? Yes, this recipe does require you to have made risotto in the last couple of days leading up to making the rice balls. I will leave the recipe for the risotto I used for this particular situation down in the link below. It has a ton of Parmesan cheese in it, so these ended up being super cheesy and really, really good. So would highly recommend, but you could use any risotto recipe you would like. That would work just fine. One last thing. For the rice balls, for the risotto. You need 2 cups if you're cutting this recipe in half like I did, and that's about 376 grams worth, okay? Okay, now to make some arancini. You are going to take 2 to 3 tablespoons of your chilled risotto, flatten it out just a little bit in the palm of your hand, and add 1/2 teaspoon of that ricotta mozzarella mixture we made earlier into the middle of that. Once you have that in the middle, you're going to wrap the risotto around it and then roll it into a ball. Now for some of these, I know not everyone loves ricotta cheese, so I actually didn't use 1/2 teaspoon in all of these. Some of these I used less than that just to see how the difference would be. So you could even go a little more or a little less. You're going to keep making risotto balls until you either A, run out of risotto, or B, run out of the filling. And then once you've done that, you're good to go. We can start worrying about the breading. You are going to start off by taking one of your risotto balls and dredging it into the flour first, shaking off any excess flour that is hanging on to your risotto ball before you then move into rolling it in the egg. After rolling your risotto ball in egg and dripping off any excess, you're going into the last step of rolling it into those Italian seasoned panko breadcrumbs. Continue this process with all of your risotto balls until all of them have been dredged, egged, and pankoed so that they are then ready to go into the air fryer. So my air fryer has these 2 perforated trays that are great for conducting the heat completely around anything that I put on them. So that's what I am using. I am putting the 4 that had a little less filling in them on one, and then the 4 that had the full 1/2 teaspoon of filling on the other, just to see the difference and keep them separate. But you don't have to. If you had the same amount in all of your risotto balls, great. No need to make sure they're separated. I'm going to give these arancini a little spray of avocado oil before popping these into the air fryer because I'm not frying them like a normal arancini would. So I'm trying to give just a little extra crisp to these. You don't have to do this, but you totally could, and I did. And now my arancini is going to go into my air fryer where it will cook at a toasty 400 degrees Fahrenheit or 204 degrees Celsius for everyone else not in the United States for about 10 minutes. And if you don't have an air fryer and you're like, this is great, but I don't own one, you can make these in the oven. That would work just as well. 400 degrees for about 20 minutes, or you could actually fry these on the stove in a fry pan with a cup of oil and they would be great. Fried food is always delicious. So there's a way to make these even if you don't have an air fryer. After cooking for 10 minutes, it's time to take your arancini out of the air fryer and give them a couple of minutes to cool down before you just dive head in, because all of the cheese is going to be like molten lava. One thing you can do while you're waiting for your arancini to cool is to get yourself some marinara sauce. I don't really love dry food. I have to have a sauce of some sort on almost everything. So this is totally optional. It's just my personal preference, and that's what I did. But man, were these so good. When they finally cooled down enough for me to touch and pull apart and eat, they were magnificent. Look at that cheese pool. All that mozzarella that was in the filling just melted and became gooey, and when you pull it apart, so good. My husband and I had to legitimately stop ourselves from demolishing these once we tried the first two because we knew we still needed a picture. So I would just say, even if you're not a huge fan of risotto, give these a try. Make the risotto and then don't even eat the risotto, just make the rice balls with them. Make this arancini because this is delicious, and I can imagine these going over really well with kids. They are cheesy and gooey and breaded, and if you're doing them in the air fryer, they're not as oily as you would typically have them if you did fry them in, let's say, like a big batch of oil. So these are a really nice alternative if you're like, oh, fry food. Air fryer all the way in cheesy deliciousness. So I hope that you celebrate National Rice Ball Day in maybe making arancini, or I know there's tons of other versions of rice balls from different cultures. Whatever way is your favorite way, I hope you enjoy today in National Rice Ball Day. And if you feel like there's another type of rice ball I should give a try, drop them down in the comments below. I am looking to expand my horizons, so I am taking opinions and recommendations. And until next week, bye!